Hello everybody, I'm back with another video for you today, and we're going to be looking at Nilfgaard and a Henrietta. I have a pretty interesting deck that you've maybe seen very similar versions of at some point, but first, I did make a video with Green Cricket yesterday, so if you want to check that out, I do recommend checking his YouTube channel out. I will link to it below. We did a video on Ice and the Ice deck that you've probably seen on Ladder at some point. And it was a pretty interesting time, so link to his channel down below. Go check that out if you feel like it. Otherwise, let's get on with this deck, shall we? So, what is this? Well, it is Anna Henrietta, and it's a human deck focused around Dopplers and humans and stuff like that. And you've probably seen this kind of human package being played at some point, whether it's with Usurper, Morvran, Anna, whatever. Personally, I like Anna as a leader. I think she gives you quite a bit of value and information, and a decent amount of provisions as well. But you can definitely try this kind of a package with Usurper or whatever. As for the version I'm going with, as you can see here, this is it. It pretty much only has humans. The only non-human is actually Roach, and the rest all pumping up your Dopplers. So you should be able to get these off in round 1 for pretty much 8-9 points, something like that. Later on, they might be a little bit weaker, but you're guaranteed to never really have a bad Doppler. You know, even things like Emissary or whatever else, they're all humans. Gimpy Go and all of these cards are. So that's kind of the thought behind the deck. You just play a bunch of humans, you get good value out of those cards, you play Dopplers for a ton of points early on in the game, and maybe even later on, and you have other big units such as Caldwell, Gregoire, which, you know, offset the disadvantage of playing tall units. The more you have, the less vulnerable you are to things like Geralt and Peter and whatever. Speaking of which, we do have a Peter and a Leo for our own tool removal in this deck. We are also running other things like Vivienne for a big point play. We have Shillard to set up Gregoire, and Milton to some extent. You have Emissaries to really help with that as well. One of the issues with Anna that I was having before was this Gregoire sometimes being dead, but when you're playing Emissaries, it helps really big time with that card. And with Milton as well, who I think is a pretty okay inclusion when you're running Emissaries. You could run Roderick, you could also run Slave Infantry, not running any of those in this deck myself, but might be worth doing. They are all humans, so you could do that. But instead we are running Infiltrators, a couple of locks, because otherwise the removal is going to be a little bit of a problem, and it probably will be a bit of an issue, because we don't have any of the 4 damage removals like Regis or whatever that you might normally include. So we're going to kind of lean on the locks a little bit, potentially, in some matchups, but that should be okay. Really, this is just a point slammy kind of deck, in the same way that Ice or Woodland is, and I think for Nilfgaard it's a pretty damn good option. There aren't that many kind of stellar Nilfgaard decks, as it were, but this is definitely a pretty good one, I think. Maybe even better than just a normal kind of value-orientated Orcs, Letho, Seret kind of deal with Nilfgaard, but we'll see. Let's jump into a game or two and see exactly how this deck plays. Alright, and the first opponent going to be an Anna. So we'll have a bit of a mirror match going on. One of the main weaknesses of this deck is the lack of removal, so Nilfgaard shouldn't be too bad of a matchup. If anything, it'll be quite a good one, I imagine. But we'll see how that goes. Double Nilf Knight's not really that great, but it's also not terrible when we have Peter Leo in hand. The Albert Armoured Cavalry might not do much, but it could lock something, so probably hold on to that. Infiltrator, don't really want round 1. Doppler's a good pickup, and we could probably get rid of the Knight Errant, I guess. Although it's not a bad card, but we could probably get rid of it. So we're going to be able to coin flip abuse potentially a little bit with Leo and the Knights and everything. And we do have 1 Doppler to open up with, which definitely isn't too shabby. So we'll probably go with that first. Make sure we just guarantee, you know, a bunch of points. 10-point play, not too bad at all for a bronze. And there's going to be a Magni Division. So we could probably just lock that straight away. We could also kind of buff it up and then kill it with Leo. But, you know, if they play another engine, we also can do that anyway. So I think playing the lock here is pretty safe, pretty fine. Good to get value from that. Might be bad later on. And, okay, Imperial Brigade, that's going to be a pretty damn nice target for Gimpy. So I think we'll take it and just really try to bully them out here. Try to pressure them out of the round if we can. That'll be really, really nice. 10 points up. Of course they have tactical advantages still, but we can kind of negate that a little bit with our tool removal that we have. Milton going to be hard to set up in this round, but will be good later on with Shillard maybe. or other things, emissaries, and all that. And that is not really a good play. It does lock the Roach, which I think that means the Sire doesn't work on it, although I'm not actually sure, to be quite honest. Let's play enough Knights so that we enable our Leo if we need to go for that, with, you know, if we need tempo at some point. And, yeah. Fisher King, interesting. I do wonder what that means. You know, some kind of combo Anna, although it's not really a thing you often hear said. And gonna be an Albert Armoured Cavalry as well. So we can definitely Peter play first is fine. We could also Nilf Knight. I mean, if we're winning on even, we're happy either way. So we'll go for a Knight, and then we can go Peter onto that guy. Or we'll just win the round on even. That's a perfectly good result. Just shows you how much tempo we actually have. Of course, they don't have Roach popping out, which is definitely not great news for them. And this hand's pretty okay, honestly, in terms of pushing round 2 and going quite heavily in. I think we can definitely use this hand. We could even get rid of Peter, honestly. And you know what? I think that's probably a good idea. Imperial Brigade, sure. Not a bad card. We'll start with that Doppler again. Just a chunky opener, proactive play that we can get out. And that's pretty damn nice. Dopplers are very, very good. I mean, if you don't draw them, they're obviously a bit awkward later on. So that's where the power of this deck's going to come from, is drawing those guys early in the game. Okay, let's go with Imperial Brigade now. We could also go with Shillard, but there's not really a rush to do that, I don't think. Saving him for round 3 is also not going to be too bad if we want to do that. Might instead just go for a Sire Vivian, maybe Leo onto Letho. There's an option, as he is a Witcher, of course. It looks like they're going to play a couple of really good cards here, so maybe we don't even want to commit very much in this round and kind of just save good stuff for later. Then again, I think Shillard is probably fine for like carryover purposes, right? And if they play the 1 strength guy, we can then Gregoire it. And honestly, that might be a wrong thing to do, I guess, but I think it's fine. Alright, that's a pretty low tempo play, so we could probably actually try to bully them here a little bit. And I'm going to go with Anna to do that, I think, because we might find damage to deal with the Magni here. We also get a pretty nice read of their hand. Okay, Gregoire, Vreemd. You could go with the Vreemd, honestly. It's 8 points. Will Shillard be worth 8? Kind of unlikely, right? Kind of unlikely. So let's go Vreemd, and then, since we know they have a Shillard, we should probably play our Sire this round as well, just so that the value on him is kind of negated. I think this won't work if we put it back in the deck, but I want to try it. Yeah, it doesn't work. But it'll, I imagine it comes out now if I play another gold. I don't actually know how that interaction's working. I think the lock comes off. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Definitely some valuable information to get. It does mean we don't have a Vivian target until we play Leo, which is a bit awkward. But they're also going with their Anna. They don't have any good options, though. We haven't set up any of these cards on our side of the board, so they're going to be left with pretty crappy Vivian, pretty crappy Greg, whatever. Leo dead. Probably they have to take Vivian, but that's giving us value on Leo, so not ideal for them, that's for sure. Will we get a card here? I'm not sure, but if Roach comes out, I don't even know if he will. Right, he should, right, because he doesn't have a lock on him, but I don't know if that's how the card's actually working in reality. Gonna be the Vivian, and then Shillard. Kind of as expected. We know they have Gregoire in hand, so we can really heavily play around that in there. Magni, they just turned it off for some reason, which obviously isn't great news for them. Let's go with the Leo now and take out Seret. So Roach isn't coming out. Okay, that's good to know. So it's actually locked. Probably shouldn't have put it back into the deck then, but that's an interaction I've never actually seen. They've updated that. Used to be the case that if Roach was locked, it would come back out, so that is good to know. It is going to mean our mulligan is a little bit bricked, so obviously not a good play with hindsight, but whatever. Not really too bothered. We've got the Vivian on the Leo, and then probably we can dip out of this round if they don't present a Gregoire target for us. And it looks like they just don't have the tools to win here. Shillard probably crippled their hand, and of course Gregoire for them is dead and all that. Alright, pretty interesting game. We just pushed them out and kind of bullied them. The, I guess, normal Anna without Dopplers, maybe a little bit weaker on blue coin. Anyway, let's jump into another game and see if we can win again. Alright, next opponent going to be Woodland, so we'll see if we can take down the big units with our own. Got the red coin, which is pretty nice. We can get rid of Imperial Brigade, of course, and then maybe a Nilf Knight. Having two of them is probably a bit too much in the round one. No Dopplers, which is a bit unfortunate. But we'll see if we can use them later on maybe instead. And going to be a pretty interesting matchup. I think we're probably in a decent position against Woodland because we have a lot of tool removal. We've got Peter and we have Leo, which is, you know, not too shabby at all. Neca Warrior, we can't really deal with it. One of the main issues of the deck, obviously, having that lack of removal. So let's just go with Imperial Brigade and we'll just try to play some points. Maybe remove a couple of their engines, get a Gregoire or whatever. Attempt to win on even, although it might be tricky if we can't remove their, you know, Thrive units. And we don't have that much in the way of you know, tempo plays, no Dopplers, so gonna have to rely a little bit on Vivienne and Caldwell and whatnot, I guess, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Caldwell a little bit risky against monsters, but I think it's probably worth it most of the time. 10 points for 8 is just very, very good. Of course, if he doesn't swap sides, so... Gonna be an Alpha Werewolf as the play, though. Alright. Getting ready to thrive up, it seems like. So, I mean, we could play a Nilf Knight onto the Neca Warrior and have it as kind of a Peter target. I don't mind that much. I kind of want to go with Caldwell, though. It's going to play into tactical advantage, boosting a big unit. So we should probably just go with like an Emissary here, I think. Basically enable that Gregoire, Milton, whatever. We don't have Milton in hand, but also gain the tallest unit, which might be relevant if they want to play Riders or something. And then we can go with Greg, maybe Caldwell. We'll see. We'll see. We want to get Vivienne out this round, maybe. We can always save it, though, for later on if we want. I'm a little bit worried that Roach will die. Often they maybe play Regis on it, which is a bit annoying. It definitely hurts Nilfgaard, that card, a lot more than other factions, I think, for the Roach Sire combo. But we'll see. We'll see what they've got. Gonna be a Katakan. Alright. That's fair enough. So yeah, we could get rid of Gregoire here. It will get the Roach out and enable Vivienne. I kind of like it. I'm not sure we're going to be able to win though with all the Thrive on the board, or win on even, I mean. But it's probably worth trying at least. We can play Knight Errant and the other Knight if we, you know, don't have enough points to win on even. So that's not going to be the end of the world. And we have a lot of big units right now, which is good for denying dominance, good for keeping Caldwell on our team. And yeah, Knight Errant is enabled, which is very good. We can Peter whatever gets tactical advantaged. Plus we can Nilfgaard Knight that unit as well, if we need to. And it's going to be Katakan. Looks like they really want the dominance for Riders or whatever. Which is, you know, a Proto-Flader going to be. Okay. In that case, we can probably play Nilf Knight here. And boost just Katakan, I guess. Ready to be shut down with the Peter. I mean, alternative plays. I would love to be able to get rid of Knight Errant, but I mean, whatever. If they pass, they pass. In fact, we can. It seems like Knight Errant on the opponent's pass is a pretty good play. 6 points. Not bad. So we've got that if they pass. If not, we've got Peter for pretty good 10 points. I think we do want to go with that, maybe. Although he's good later as well. You know, potentially on the Woodland ability or Osrel or whatever. So there's potential there. But if we are wanting to push this round, we need to get Caldwell, you know, available to play. So that will involve taking down the Katakan. We'll see, though. We will see. They're really taking their time to rope it out on this one, it seems like. Yeah, I'm not sure how this deck really stacks up against other Nilfgaard decks. I think it's probably... That's a pretty glaring weakness of not much removal, and that is going to be, you know, making some matchups significantly harder, but other than that, it's definitely not too shabby. I guess we can go Peter then onto Katakan and take it with the Knight Errant or Caldwell. If they pass, either is fine, I guess. They've done their dominance plays though, so unfortunately we didn't, negate that. We could have gone with the Peter before the Nilf Knight, but I wanted to just maximize the value on those. Knight can be a bit awkward to use maybe later on. Maybe not. But if we're winning this round, we can't, we can't play it as the first play in round 3 or whatever, so not really ideal. We've got Gimpy here. If they push, we're probably in a good spot because we've got, some really nice plays coming up. We're not too far behind in points, but, we'll see. That is a very big boy, so we'll see if we can actually do much here to deal with that. That's a very big play. We do have Vivienne for 10. We have Gimpy for 9. So, I mean, in theory, we can make the point, so maybe we should play Gimpy just in an attempt to do that. We'll have to commit a good card if we want to win here, but I think having last say is pretty damn important against Woodland. Obviously, we can shut down a big play with Leo or whatever later on, and that's very good news. Can also go for Anna onto there, whatever, which would be nice. Anna's very good against Woodland, I think, just because you can negate one of their bigger plays usually. They don't have that much synergy going on with their own decks, so you just take one of their cards that's pretty much always good for you, as good for you as it is for them. Going to be a Coldwell, okay. So we can try to take that, maybe going Knight Errant now, and then that's going to present the opportunity for us to just win on even, potentially even. Coldwell's a bit risky for them there, honestly. Let's go for the damage onto that then. 20-point swing represented by the Coldwell. If they pass and it goes wrong for them, so that's pretty nice. We can of course play Vivienne. If it doesn't swing, then yeah, we might be in trouble if it doesn't, come over to our side twice in a row, but that's pretty unlikely, especially once we get another big unit on the board, potentially. It depends how lucky they're feeling. They could go for the pass here and just, wing it. Wouldn't expect them to do it though, unless their hand is really not allowing for, regaining of the tallest unit. Might be really hard for them. They might have to play like Woodland or something. Okay, just going to be a Parasite actually. And that is pretty annoying. I mean, we could play on here. We could even commit Anna. We could play Vivienne onto Coldwell, but I'm not sure if that's a great play. It feels kind of bad. Unless it might work out, but it also might not. If it doesn't, it would feel very bad. I guess taking a pass here probably won't end too badly for us. Coldwell's a bit of a brick in hand. I don't really like it though. So that's something to think about. I guess we can play Vivienne. Yes. And just see what happens. I don't know, it's not that bad. It's like pretty good points anyway. It's just an 11, right? And then we potentially get even more if he swaps sides. So I think this is probably worth it. We've got Coldwell as well as a play now. I think this is probably good. Yes, it's a pretty big resource for later, but again, like having last say is important still, and if we're winning on even, we're in a really good spot, right? We could just get the card for free and have all that card advantage and last say and everything, so I think this is working pretty well in our favour, this play. We'll see though, maybe they've got a way to counter it with like Crone or something, I don't know. Maybe they'll commit their leader, that would be quite a nice thing to see as well. Even, young Spear Tip won't be enough to stop the Coldwell switch, so that's pretty nice for us. And I don't really see what they could have that's bigger than a 10 at this point. Yeah, they're going to have to use the leader ability to not lose on even cards, which is obviously very good news. We're getting kind of a whole card out of the opponent there, which is pretty nice. And yeah, we're 30 points down. They've pretty much overcommitted to this round at this point, so we'll take a pass and we're going to have that leader advantage on them in round 3. Which may or may not be good enough to win. It should be serving us pretty well though, especially when they've committed a lot of good cards here with the Spear Tip and a few big units. But we'll see how it goes. Coldwell can definitely be an awkward one, So I might even think about mulliganing him here actually. Just because, if he ends up being a dead play, which is possible if they go with like an Osrel opener or something, then that would really be trouble for us. And just in general, they might get the highest unit and then we'll be in trouble. So I think I'm going to mulligan it. Nilf Knight's not terrible, but it's also not great, and I want to play Infiltrator on the pass here, so... Bit of a weird mulligan there. Just trying to cover my bases in case they push here. Nilf Knight, obviously, if they push, is going to be 4, so we're just a bit scared of like an Ozrael play or something, coming down for 13, and then, you know, we probably have the points to make it up with the Doppler into Asai or whatever, but it's still a bit intimidating. Okay, just going to get the pass though, that's really nice. We can Infiltrator now, and then, you know, pass. And I'm still not sure if Coldwell's good. It's probably just a bit risky. Like, we could want it maybe, but also just not sure if it's worth it. Do have double Doppler, which actually is kind of awkward in this round 3. They're going to lose value, each of them. But Armoured Cavalry is probably the worst of the cards here. Coldwell is an option. I guess we can probably keep him. It's unlikely they'll be able to retain the highest unit when we have Emissary in hand, so we could probably mulligan a Doppler here. And Leo's a great pickup. So starting with Doppler seems fine. We'll just maximise the points on that. 7, pretty good. They can go with an Ozrael now, but that's just going to feed right into Leo, so we're kind of safe now, I think, in those terms. We can probably Shallard now, just to make sure that, you know, if they have a big unit, it's going to get knocked down, and that should be really good for us. And then Emissary, setting up Milton is very nice. Coldwell should be safe now that we have Leo and Emissary. So that's a play we could even go with now if we wanted to. You know, or we could go with Emissary. I'm pretty fine going with Coldwell. We could also go with the Sire, that works. This might be the safest, I guess, play to make. Gonna be a Crone, that's not a problem. That gives us a Leo target at the very least. I think we'll go with Anna now just to see what we've got. Maybe we hit the Ozrael, if they have that. It looks like they maybe don't. Just a couple of Thrive units, not particularly good. We'll take the Crone, obviously, it's the best we can get here. And we'll hit the Foglet, because that sets up Milton, potentially. Now we can play Coldwell, I think. It's probably quite safe. We're up very, you know, very large amount of points right now. And we know they have a couple of Thrive units, so that's not particularly scary, honestly. There's going to be a Drowner for 1. And we can probably go Emissary, I think, here. Setting up the Milton for full effect, full value. We could probably throw it onto Coldwell. I think that's the safest way to do things, because if they then have tool removal, they remove the Coldwell, and it prevents, you know, bad things happening, I guess. I mean, it's a little bit risky maybe playing this early. I don't know. I think we should be okay, though. Milton going to be pretty nice now. We know they have Crone and another card, so we should probably actually play the Leo first onto Crone, just to be, you know, making sure we get value from it. And we can Milton as our last play. We kind of missed the Thrive, I guess, value, unfortunately. And if their last card is Ozrael, it is a scary amount of points, but they're not going to be able to get the steal on Coldwell since the game, I should say, is ending on their turn, as it were. So even with an Ozrael, Coldwell won't switch, and we should be good to win. Nice, going to be a couple of victories. But yeah, not sure this is the strongest way to play Nilfgaard. It's definitely an option if you don't want to go the control-y route with the locks and whatnot. So yeah, pretty cool deck though. I do like the Dopplers, they're fun, along with all the big tempo plays that you've got. Do give it a go if you're feeling it. And also, remember to go check out Green Cricket on YouTube and the video that I did with him. I assume it's out. If it's not, then it'll be out at some point. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Do remember to subscribe if you want more Gwent videos, of course. And I'll see you next time.